Joe, our first rendition of the season of our power rankings. Your top 10 goes as follows. Tell the good people who you have here.
Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, LSU. Number 3, Penn State. Number 4, Georgia. Number 5, Oregon. Number 6, Miami. Number 7, Texas. 8, Clemson. 9, Notre Dame. And 10, Florida State.
I want to get to Florida State with you really quickly, but I'm going to read off mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just before we get started. I have Ohio State at number 1, Penn State at number 2, LSU at 3, Georgia at 4, Oregon at 5, Texas at 6, Florida at 7, Miami at 8, Clemson at 9, and Notre Dame rounding out the top 10. Joe, I gotta throw a bone your way because I want to hear your explanation for this. I don't think that you would have had Florida State in your top 25 power rankings and or if you had an AP poll vote. But today you have them in your top 10 when it comes to power rankings. Justify to me why you have Florida State at number 10.
They were one of the most dominant teams last week in week 1. They checked every box for me for a team to have momentum, to have a quality season. Look, there's plenty of chances for Florida State to shift out and be a little bit more middle of the pack by the end of the year. It's possible. There's still a lot of roster moves and situations that need to get figured out because they had so much turnover, but they were a lot better than anything we expected coming into this season. I really think that Castellanos and Malzahn are a real dangerous combo for what they're going to run this season. For the way that they showed up with intensity, focus, and a desire to embarrass their opponent, that to me is notable. And look, if Alabama didn't lose, Alabama would have been my top 10. If I'm removing Alabama, why not put the team in there that made them look awful, that dominated and that smoked them? I don't think this is an upset situation. I do think that Florida State proved they're worthy of being recognized as one of the best teams in college football.
I think you're right in this regard. The reason that they're not my top 10, I'll get to in just a moment. I do think they look dominant. I do think that they did something that shocked really the college football world because no one expected them other than Lee Corso to go in there and do what they did. Nobody. So when we look at them coming off a 2-10 season, they kind of get their lick back on Alabama after what happened in 2023. They showed there's nobody that had a better win, in my opinion, than Florida State, considering the circumstances. I still think Ohio State and LSU are both up there and could make the argument, but I don't think that they did. The thing that I am pausing with Florida State is this. Is Florida State really good or is Alabama Because let me tell you why. I saw an Alabama team beat Georgia who won the SEC a season ago. Then the next week, I literally saw them get their shit pushed in by Vanderbilt on the road. Every time they go on the road, pretty much they cannot get it done. So is Florida State the team, Joe, that we think that they are and can be, or is Alabama not just unable to figure it out on the road? Because you can't have Alabama knocking off the SEC champion a year ago and then losing to Vandy, and then they have another road game, and you're like, oh, here we go again. And I got to ask a question. What all did Jalen Milroe really cover up with you? Because Ty Simpson's not the athlete that Jalen Milroe was when Jalen made some of those massive runs. So here's the thing. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth to some extent. You're 1,000% right. They dominated both lines of scrimmage. They took it to Alabama. How good is Alabama? What if Alabama's 8-4, 7-5 at the end of the season, and we're looking up? I don't think they are either. Yeah. But I got to kind of determine what I'm seeing here too.
I don't think they're that bad, and I really don't want to move the goalposts after a performance like that. Like, I think fair. We should be allowed to congratulate and recognize what Florida State did against Alabama without saying that Alabama is crap and they're not going to be a good team this year. I think Alabama will rally, and if they finish 8-4, they're probably still going to finish as a ranked team. An 8-4 team in the SEC finishes in the back end of the top 25 in most rankings, especially with the schedule that they have coming up. But just because they're 8-4, I don't think diminishes the fact that Florida State played the way that they did. It's still a top 30 FBS Power 4 opponent in the hardest conference in college football. I think that it is still recognizable the way that they played. They didn't eke out an unexpected late win because of a big play. They outclassed them on every single level. So that to me is a recognition of you had a challenge and you stepped up to the plate. That's the theme of the rankings. It's typically the theme of when we do these power rankings is who steps up when you are presented with an opportunity to prove yourself, and do you exceed expectations? Not only did they prove themselves, but they also vastly, vastly exceeded expectations.
I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. I can't disagree with you, but I kind of just need to see them continuously have that level of success before I put them up there. All right, Joe, what team do you want to get to on mine here?
I can't get there with Florida yet. I gotta see Florida. I know the Florida LSU game's coming up really soon, and we're gonna have a chance to really tell. I think that Florida is a team that is in the pocket with South Carolina right now. I would almost put, instead of Florida State, I almost put South Carolina in there. So that's my big pushing point here, is that I think that there are other SEC teams and other teams that are a little bit more of a known commodity that I would rather go with than Florida.
You know why I picked Florida or have Florida there besides like a South Carolina or Florida State? Because I trust both lines of scrimmage a little bit more. When I look, as an example here, when I look at Clemson and when I look at Notre Dame, okay, Miami and them are going to play flip-flop them for all I give a damn. I really don't care. I saw a Clemson offensive line get dominated, and I think they have the best interior defensive lineman in the country. Notre Dame, I'm not saying they got pushed around, but I think Florida's offensive line is pretty freaking good. So when you can control lines of scrimmage, and you have what a lot of people believe to be a special quarterback, I saw South Carolina get in a dogfight with Virginia Tech with their offensive line, and they were, I don't want to say lucky, but Lenora Sellers bailed them out in a couple of situations massively with his legs and being freaking Superman. So for me, it's both lines of scrimmage for Florida.
This kind of leads into the Notre Dame conversation. But you and I are
before we get there, because we're going to Notre Dame next.
Wait, say it again.
Hold on Florida, or keep going with Florida, because we're getting to Notre Dame.
I don't have anything else to really add with Florida. I just don't think that I agree with the way that roster is, and I think it's very talented, but I don't think I learned anything from them after beating up on LIU. I think that did we learn about anybody who played Rudy Putex in week one? No, but I didn't have Florida as a top 10 team coming into the season.
I did.
I thought that Florida was in the teens. I thought they were a quality team. I think that Notre Dame, for what it's worth, being as high on Miami as I am, after what they did, and they finally win a big, tight game, and Carson Beck played as well as he did, and the defense played as well as it needed to. Notre Dame's performance is recognizable for the fact that they did not play their best ball game, and they still only lost by 3. They had a lot of mistakes. They had multiple turnovers, silly late penalties, and they still only lost by 3. They had a position to win it. If they had a veteran quarterback leading that drive, game could have ended completely differently. They could have won that ball game.
If I had six-pack abs and really big arms, I could still be playing football too.
Forget that. Okay, forget that for a second. I shouldn't have added that contingency. My point is that I have proof of what Notre Dame has done against a top team, and they narrowly lost. I think that Notre Dame and Florida, if they squared up right now, that Notre Dame would win. Plain and simple.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I mean, I'm just not there, because again, Who's to say? I mean, Joe, have you figured out what you're going to do with Tyreek Sapp? Have you figured out what you're going to do with your offensive line? Have you figured out what you're going to do in chaotic situations? Yeah, I thought Carr played well. I thought he played really well in some stints. But at the same time, I mean, let's not act like that Florida offensive line can't get pushed and ball's not coming at you with a full force. And be real with you, I'm taking ball over any running back on any one of most of these teams. I'm not going to say all, but most of these teams. I mean,
Miami has a better offensive line than Florida's. And
they don't have a better interior defensive tackle, though.
That's not what I said, though. They have a better offensive line than Florida's, and Notre Dame was able to generate a ton of penetration on run plays, and they were able to slow down Miami's rushing attack in the second half.
Here's what I listen. I'm not saying you're doing this. This is what I've seen. This is what I hear when I look at Notre Dame and the loss. Oh, we only lost by 3. You're right. You only lost by 3. And I thought Cristobal completely mismanaged the end of that game. Completely. Not putting the ball in Carson Beck's hands was absolutely asinine, in my opinion. However, in that, I got to see what you do against other really experienced and physical offensive lines and defensive lines, too. Like, the first half is still ingrained in my brain. They got pushed around. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say they got pushed around. And I don't think if Cristobal doesn't mismanage the end of that game, I got to be real with you. I think it's more of a 10-point game there at the end. If he does, Joe, he ran the same play from the same formation 3 straight times.
Well, Dawson was the one who was calling.
Sure. But you can't convince me that he's not on the headset telling him to run the football. You can't, because after he's mismanaged so many other situations, I can't be convinced it's just his OC. I can't be convinced of it. Okay, I'm not saying Notre Dame. I have Notre Dame in my top 10 for what it's worth. So we're kind of fighting over semantics. I'm not saying they're bad at all. They looked good. What I'm saying is, Joe, I think there needs to be a deeper look on both lines of scrimmage about what actually happened. They're still a top 10 team. But at the same time, if I'm going to have to look at Florida and what they have on both lines of scrimmage, I don't know what I don't know. And you might be 1,000% right that Florida might be a fugazi. At the same time,
I'm not saying that Florida's fugazi. I'm merely just saying that I need to see what they actually do. They were mediocre last year, and they need to prove themselves before we can commit to them in being a top 10 team.
Okay, I'm with you there. But at the same time, we could say that about a lot of other teams that are on these rankings too. They play nobodies.
But that's not what my take is, though. But the difference here with a team like Florida,
Oregon played to nobody.
Wait, a difference here between a team like Florida compared to Oregon or Georgia or Penn State is that I have the cores of those rosters and those teams producing success last year. I know we're not driving our decision making off of 2024, but Billy Napier has not had a successful team yet. He hasn't. That is one of these things is not like the other. He is the only coach or the only team on there that has not produced success. So we don't know if this is not all just hype. That's my point.
I asked you at the end of the season or the beginning of the season last year with the schedule that Florida had. If they got to 8 wins, could Billy Napier be a candidate for Coach of the Year? And you said yes. He won 8 games.
The 8th game was a bowl game.
I don't give 2 Rudy Poos. I don't give 2 Rudy Poos. It was
a bowl game against Tulane.
Oh, and I give 2 Rudy Poos how?
That's not a successful season, Blake.
For them.
Wait, stop. Blake, we're talking about putting them in the top 10 at number 7.
Yeah.
They've never been that good under Billy Napier. I'm not saying that they can't be. I'm saying that there's a legitimate shot, and I'm very high on this Florida team. I really think that Florida's going to be a rising team, but I don't have a proof of concept yet. And they played LIU. I think it's too sudden to do that.
Okay, let me ask a question. What quarterback are you taking right now? DJ Lagway or CJ Carr?
I'm obviously taking DJ Lagway. I love DJ Lagway.
Are you taking Caleb Banks or are you taking the defensive line that you have at Notre Dame?
You know that I'm going to say yes to all of these.
Okay, then what are we arguing over? If you're taking the 3 big things that win you football games, what are you taking?
Blake, we can't just throw them in there after beating LIU. We just can't.
No, I already would have had them in there.
they're one of the most unproven hype teams coming into this season. Plain and simple. They're one of the most unproven, hyped up teams. I'm one of those people that are supporting the hype, but I can't go as far as to put them into a top 10 because for the hype to be actualized, they got to do something first.
Here's the good thing. Florida plays A&M and Miami, and we're going to get a pretty good barometer of what they could do against both.
Yeah, and that's very soon. I can't wait to see that one. Can we talk about LSU next so I can anger you?
LSU at number 2 for you, LSU at number 3 for me. Continue.
Well, I mean, like, why? I know that you don't want to come off as a homer, so I guess I'll do it for you. They went on the road and beat the best team in the ACC in my eyes, a team that was loaded with defensive talent that they did get pretty good push on. They ran the ball really effectively. They were the most balanced team. Call it what it is. Let's be real. No one has said this. LSU was the most balanced team in week 1. All the other teams that we hyped up and we talked about that had really good performances either didn't play anyone good or they had some sort of an issue. Ohio State's offense had one of the worst explosive play rates in college football this past weekend.
Yeah, fair.
They were great. I'm putting them at number 1, and I'm about to hype them up in a second when we talk about them, but LSU was the most balanced team. They deserve to go ahead of Penn State and at least be at number 2.
I can't give you balance. I love LSU. You know I do.
But what wasn't where was their weakness in the game?
Right guard.
Okay, that's so specific, though. I'm just talking about offense, defense, run, pass offense, pass defense, run offense, run defense.
Hold on. I'm not going to play it, but this is a video clip, okay, of the all 22, okay? I need to see more from that offensive line. I know Penn State can run the ball on anybody. We're fighting over, again, in reference to LSU and me not putting them at 2, I'm fighting over semantics.
I'm shocked that we're doing that on this show.
Correct. I don't disagree with Lee Corso that LSU, Penn State, without a shadow of a doubt to me, and I don't care that they played Nevada, Penn State looked good. They look sharp. They look really good. LSU, I thought, left some things on the field offensively. If they show me this week and next that they can get vertical offensively, they'll be at number 1 for me. They'll be at number 1. I think that right now, if you ask me, though, who am I legitimately? Blake's a homer. I get it. If you're telling me LSU, Penn State today, I'm taking LSU. I'm taking Bernard Gooden by week 4 is going to be a household name. You mark my words. Number 88 in the interior. He absolutely whipped all 5 offensive linemen at least once in a rep. He dominated them. So, I look, I know for on a shadow of a doubt, Penn State can run the football on anyone. I saw them do it against the national champion a year ago. Need to see LSU be a little bit more consistent there. I get it. Penn State didn't play anybody. LSU, for what it's worth, did something that they shut a lot of people up. I will say this. I have literally 14 live shows of me being at 14 practices during the fall. I'm not trying to say I called this because I didn't necessarily. I said either you were really bad on offense or you were elite on defense. Joe, they're there for me. I don't think people are going to figure out what to do about Harold Perkins because Patrick Payton set up a lot of those pressures for Perk. A lot. Joe, they were so panicked that they were sliding and then other dudes are making plays. All that being said, LSU deserves to be, if you even put them at number 1, they deserve to be there.
I almost did it, and here's my biggest deciding factor.
Please don't do it. Please don't do it. Every time you do this, we get jinxed.
Garrett Nussmeier. I needed to see Garrett Nussmeier in a primetime matchup against the top defense.
You look good.
I needed to see the kid be more composed, make the right decisions, and not turn the ball over. And that quite literally is the first time he's done it. If you go back at his game logs from last year, he had turnovers in all of their big games. The fact that he made that much of a leap, we're not even talking about him having 1 interception. No picks. He played a lot cleaner. I know that Drew Aller
were kind of elite in a way.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is solid coverage, and he's either Aaron's going to catch it or no one else is.
Right. I know Aller still needs a chance to prove himself as well.
Mhm.
But at the current moment, I would take Nussmeier over Aller with two teams that are pretty evenly matched. That's my take.
I would take Garrett right now. Here's the thing with Garrett before we move on to another team or two here. Joe, the zone read, him checking at the line, knowing the protections, the chips that he kept calling on TJ Parker. Joe, Garrett might have figured it out, dude. He might have figured it out. That makes LSU very dangerous. Let's see if they can get vertical this week. All right, both of us have Ohio State at number 1, Joe.
This one's pretty easy. They have the best win of this past week, and they answered a lot of questions for me that I now feel a lot more secure in. The interior of their defensive line, it's not as deep as a team like Texas, but it still played really well. I think that we learned that there's some serious athletes across the defense. I'm in love with Avril Reese. That kid is
very
so
good.
Disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the best linebacker duo in college football with him and Sonny Styles. They might have the best secondary as well, as Matthews played great. Igbinosun played great. We know Caleb Downs is a dude. Their offensive line was sturdy enough, and it did a good enough of a job. I need to see them run the ball a little bit better because there were a lot of stopped plays at the line of scrimmage. Julian Sayin as well looked very solid for what he needed to do, like we talked about. There's a chance that this could get reshuffled. If LSU beats Florida, I'd gladly put LSU ahead of Ohio State. But at the current moment, this Ohio State team proved that they've got the best defense in the country, and their offense is reliable enough that they can move the chains and win a close ball game by getting a touchdown in tight situations.
They're the reigning national champion, and then they beat Texas. Here's the thing. Can I tell you something? And I knew I would get killed if I did this, so I didn't. I almost kept Texas in my top 5.
I don't think that would have been egregious.
Well, you know how people would have reacted to that. They faced off against the best front 7 in the country. They did. And I think that Ryan Day looked so composed and confident that, hey, man, we can play conservative today, and we're going to beat them because they can't score. Joe, they answered a question, a really big one, because I don't think Arch was as bad as people were thinking that he was bad. He made some misses. He just didn't know where things were coming from. He was confused. And I agree with Sark in his postgame when he said, listen, man, we were confused. Like, Sark owned it. Like, hey, man, we were a little bit confused, and we put Arch in a lot of bad situations. Good for Sark for, composing himself and actually admitting that. Joe, Ohio State better run the football, though. But the problem with the Ohio State run game at the current moment is they did face off against the best front 7 in the country to me. So, again, godly. I mean, they have the best win. I think Sayin will be better. I don't think they have those drops. I think they can get the run game going. I am a little bit like, hey, man, I know it's Texas, but Hartline had some issues running against really good defenses when he was the OC. And I don't like this. I don't like some of the stuff that they did in the run game. If you ask me on a neutral field who I'm taking, Penn State, Ohio State, we got to have a conversation. We got to have a conversation, like a serious.
I think I'm still taking Ohio State.
I think I would too, but there's going to have to be a conversation that's got to be had here.
Yep.
All right. Any other teams that you want to get to before we move on here?
No, we got to rip through these previews.